Now, one of the seminal moments that happened while you were in school is the assassination of JFK. And while you are watching the news report, it so happens that a person in your class at that moment looks up at the TV screen and goes, "Lee, I know that guy. It's Lee Harvey Oswald. I was in the Marines with him." And rather than 1,000 things you could have done, including ignore him or think he was crazy, you do what?
You do your research well. In the broadcasting class, November 22nd, 1963, loudspeaker announcement. Attention students of Los Angeles City College, the President of the United States has been shot in Dallas, Texas. We are suspending classes for the day. You may all go home. If you're in the broadcasting class at a moment like that, you go to the monitor and you turn on to see what the coverage is like. Stood in front of the monitor, there was a man behind me. There's a flashing image of this guy who is a suspect in the shooting of a police officer, Officer J.D. Tippit, who was shot hours after the president was shot. And they were looking for a suspect named Lee Harvey Oswald. And the guy behind me says, "Hot damn, that's Lee." And I turned to him and I said, "Lee?" And he said, "Yeah, Lee. I served in the Marine Corps with him." I said, "You know him?" "Oh, yeah, I knew Lee. We had lots of conversation." And I said, "Would you mind just walking into this other room?" And we walked into another room, and I taped an interview with, I'm hesitant to mention his last name because I don't know if he wants to have the association. I learned recently that he is a broadcaster.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We both got a job, and he still has one. Yeah. So Roland told me about his time with Lee Harvey Oswald, then just a suspect.
Did you see Mr. Oswald's picture on the television? Yes, I did. And you're quite sure this is the man? I'm positive that that's the same man that was stationed with me when I was in the Marine Corps. I'm positive. What kind of a guy was he? Well, from what I can recollect of Oswald, he was sort of a different type of individual from the average person, I would say. He used to more or less hang around by himself, and he had funny ideas about different topics and whatnot. Do you know why he went to Russia? Well, I remember that he went to Russia as a tourist, but I couldn't understand how could he get to Russia as a tourist basis, because he got out of the service on a hardship discharge. I remember this. Meaning what? Well, I understand that the Red Cross notified him and said that his parents, his mother, if I can recollect, was having difficulties, and it would be best for him to be released from the service on a hardship discharge.
I taped the interview, I went home, I called KFWB, that was the local all-news radio station, and said, "Hi, I'm Elliot Mintz, and I go to LA City College, and I got an interview with a guy who was in the Marine Corps with Lee Harvey Oswald. Would you like to have my interview?" By the evening, it was everywhere. I guess it was my first scoop in terms of media.
Sure.
Hate to think of it as my first scoop on the eve of the death of America's innocents and a possible coup d'etat in the country. But I found out how easy it is to get a story out there if it's important, if it's immediate, if it's relevant, and if it's true. You put together those four components, and there ain't no power on earth that can keep it from you. A guy showed up on a motorcycle to get the tape, and later that evening I heard it on the network news. It was my first excursion into media.
And you heard it on the network news
Yeah.
that night?
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing.
on a black and white television set that I was renting for $11 a month while living in an apartment at 1626 North Harvard, right below Hollywood Boulevard, 5 blocks east of Western Avenue, that I was renting, I think, for $90 a month, that had a hot plate and a Murphy bed. And I had no car, and I had no friends, and I had nothing. And I had been in this city for 6 months, still had the stutter. I hate to say I was at the right time at the right place for the first exclusive. I was at the right place at the wrong time, and wish the broadcasting career hadn't begun that way. It did.